Once the concrete is poured and a multi-year commercial lease is signed, a distribution facility becomes an anchor. Moving or closing an established logistics hub incurs massive direct costs and severs established relationships with suppliers, local labor markets, and carriers. Because of that physical weight, a newly built distribution network is perfectly optimized for exactly one moment in time, the day the data was collected to design it. Immediately after, the variables shift. Labor rates fluctuate, real estate costs climb, international tariffs adjust, and customer demand migrates. The mathematical perfection of the network steadily degrades. When that degradation impacts the bottom line, supply chain managers cannot solve the problem by simply dropping a pin on a map based on a gut feeling about a new, cheaper location. To prevent catastrophic financial errors, physical infrastructure design requires a rigid, mathematical elimination process. It is a structured framework designed to kill bad ideas before a single dollar is spent on real estate analysis. This visualization represents Chopra's four-phase network design decision framework. It is the industry standard for narrowing down infinite global coordinates to a single optimized site. The process operates as an elimination funnel. It systematically discards 80 to 90% of geographically infeasible options long before applying complex mathematical optimization. Phase 1 defines the supply chain strategy, setting the non-negotiable capabilities and binding constraints. Phase 2 uses those constraints to evaluate broad regional configurations, filtering entire world regions based on macroeconomic factors. Phase 3 is the transition stage. It converts broad regional viability into specific mathematical candidate coordinates and cross-references them with actual site conditions. Finally, Phase 4 applies optimization models to allocate specific markets to actual physical buildings, locking in the total capacity of the network. By treating network design as a sequential funnel, architects avoid analysis paralysis. They ensure heavy computational power is reserved exclusively for strategically viable locations. Phase 1 establishes the guardrails. A firm must clearly define its capital budget, its long-term growth plans, and its core competitive strategy. A brand competing on extreme responsiveness needs a dense network of local facilities. A cost leader requires massive, consolidated, high-volume nodes. With those guardrails set, Phase 2 evaluates entire world regions. The architects compare macroeconomic data across borders, regional labor rates, industrial land costs, and the price of energy for heavy operations. These macroeconomic inputs also capture political constraints. In 2026, the primary constraint in North America is the renegotiated CUSMA framework and intense US-Canada tariff uncertainty. That tariff volatility creates massive financial risk for Canadian manufacturers shipping to US customers. To limit their exposure, many firms use Phase 2 to evaluate nearshoring strategies, analyzing the cost of adding US-side distribution capacity. Conversely, if a firm's Phase 1 strategy dictates a purely domestic focus, Phase 2 physically eliminates the US side of the map entirely, restricting the search to Canadian soil. The final macro filter is physical infrastructure. The presence of major deepwater ports, reliable rail networks, and multi-lane highways locks in the specific subnational region capable of supporting the freight volume. Without looking at a single specific real estate listing, Phases I and II successfully convert an infinite global map into a defensible shortlist of viable regions based strictly on strategy and macroeconomics. Phase 3 narrows the scope from a broad region down to a specific site. To do this, architects require a strict data-driven starting point to anchor the physical property search. The gravity model treats supply origins and customer destinations as nodes, weighted by shipping volume. It calculates distances to find a precise coordinate, minimizing total transportation costs. Because it's weighted by volume, heavy demand centers exert a gravitational pull, dragging the optimal coordinate toward them. But the gravity model has a critical limitation. It outputs a pure mathematical coordinate. It does not output an available physical address. For central Canadian companies in 2026, domestic freight volume almost always pulls the perfect coordinate directly into the heavily constrained Greater Toronto area. The gravity model provides a flawless anchor point for freight economics, but it is completely blind to physical reality. It does not know about zoning laws, industrial vacancy rates, or land availability. The mathematical output collides immediately with the 2026 industrial real estate market. The Greater Toronto Area has a vacancy rate below 2%, and rental rates have tripled since 2019. When the primary coordinate is physically or financially unusable, supply chain teams turn to weighted factor scoring to evaluate secondary markets within the gravity models surrounding radius. This matrix displays weighted factor scoring. Teams list variables like transportation, assigning percentage weights based on strategy. Candidate sites are scored, then multiplied by weights for a total sum. Finally, analysts vary those weights in sensitivity testing to ensure the final ranking remains reliable. Weighted factor scoring acts as the bridge between pure mathematics and concrete reality, transforming an unusable GPS coordinate into a defensible, ranked list of actionable real estate options. With the real estate sites shortlisted, the funnel enters Phase 4, location and capacity optimization. Optimization models are applied directly to the final candidates. These algorithms officially select the exact facilities, determine their storage capacities, and assign specific regional markets to specific buildings. The math here serves a specific objective: to minimize the total network cost, strictly subject to the physical capacity limits of the chosen buildings and the exact demand of the customers. Once the nodes are established, architects must determine the node configuration. They must map exactly how these newly selected facilities will connect to move inventory. This split screen illustrates the two primary architectures. On the left, a hub-and-spoke network consolidates inbound freight for high transportation efficiency, but adds a handling step that increases response time. On the right, a point-to-point network establishes direct bilateral flows, bypassing the hub for faster delivery, but losing the economic benefit of freight consolidation. Modern networks rarely choose just one; they operate as hybrids. The decision of which architecture to deploy is dictated by the economic breakdown of shipment sizes and the response times demanded by the market. Finally, Phase 4 must account for localized operational constraints, such as Quebec Bill 96. This legislation imposes strict French language labeling and documentation requirements. This introduces a hard operational filter into the network, legally dictating which specific distribution nodes possess the capability to serve the Quebec market. Phase 4 locks in the final network map. It achieves a rigorous balance, perfectly aligning structural capacity limits with localized operational rules and legislative realities. Stepping back, the output of this 4-phase process is a fully designed, optimized North American distribution network. The sequence works because it enforces strict discipline. High-level strategy dictated the broad region. The gravity model found the mathematical center. Factor scoring secured the viable real estate, and optimization models allocated the capacity. But the permanence paradox remains. The concrete is poured, the leases are signed, and the physical buildings are locked in place. Meanwhile, the external factors that informed the models, tariffs, labor rates, real estate capacity, and customer demographics, immediately resume shifting. From day one, the network's mathematical perfection begins to erode. As this network map demonstrates, Chopra's ultimate recommendation addresses this exact tension. Supply chain operators must regularly run these exact optimization models to recalculate the market-to-facility allocations as costs change, routing inventory differently even when the buildings themselves are fixed in place. Physical infrastructure is notoriously static, but successful supply chain management requires the network strategy to operate as a continuous, fluid calculation.